Protesters demonstrated outside the Barclays Center in New York last night over the Eric Garner and Michael Brown cases. Inside the arena, members of the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, including Kevin Garnett and LeBron James, made their own statements wearing "I Can't Breathe" T-shirts in honor of Garner. These are just the latest professional athletes to join the public protests over the grand jury decisions in Ferguson, Missouri, and New York. Let's bring in George Martin. He's the former co-captain and defensive end of the Super Bowl winning New York Giants, and Kavitha Davidson, a sports columnist for Bloomberg View. Great to have both of you back with us.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're seeing all sorts of professional athletes, basketball players and football players. They're on their T-shirts wearing "I Can't Breathe," sometimes on their wristbands, sometimes on their shoes, or they're holding their hands up in the solidarity of Michael Brown in the hands up, don't shoot posture. Kavitha, what's going on with professional athletes right now?
I think that you're seeing a galvanizing around an issue that's really resonated among the black community. And obviously, you can't ignore that the majority of the NFL, the majority of the NBA is comprised of black players. So I think that they're seeing their communities start to rise up. They're seeing people galvanizing on social media, and they want to join in.
George, is this a new phenomenon? Do you remember another time when so many professional athletes were making political statements like this?
Well, of course. I think we go back to Muhammad Ali, who was, I think, the ringleader of this. He was very outspoken. He was very active. Joe Frazier, all of those individuals kind of, as you said, galvanized around a central issue. This is another watershed moment, and I'm so proud to see these guys come out in support of that.
So, George, you're comfortable with this. Is this something that you would have done when you were playing?
Oh, absolutely. And we did do it for other issues. And I think that we saw the NFL support some of these issues as they became larger, such as breast cancer awareness or the military, or more recently, domestic violence. So I think this is another issue where they're going to have to step back and say, what do we do as an organization?
Here's what Derrick Rose of the Chicago Bulls said about why he's wearing a T-shirt in support of Eric Garner. Listen to this.
I'm just happy that people paid attention to it. I think it touched a lot of people because I grew up in an impoverished area like that, and sometimes that happens a lot of times, and it just touched a lot of people, and I just wanted to make sure that I got my point across.
So, Kavitha, he can relate to it, he says, because of his childhood. Does that send a bigger message? I mean, these guys are role models to so many kids.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what makes these demonstrations so meaningful, is that not only are the majority of the players black, but the majority of these fans are also part of these communities that really need to see somebody tell them not only that their lives matter, but that we've been able to make it, that we've been able to get a public profile and fame and fortune, and we still hear you and we still think that you matter.
And yet, George, they are breaking the rules. I mean, here is what the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, said about this. Let me read it to you. He says, "I respect Derrick Rose and all of our players for voicing their personal views on important issues, but my preference would be for players to abide by our on-court attire rules."
Of course, they are skirting the rules, and I think I applaud them for that, because it's a situation that really requires a broader attention, and these guys are using their platform. Let's face it, we are asked as professional athletes to do a lot, to be role models, to stand out and be leaders, and this is what these guys are doing. They're demonstrating and using their platform for a very positive and very important cause.
So, Kavitha, what should the NBA and the NFL do about these players voicing their political views on this?
Nothing, frankly. The NFL, immediately after the Rams came out with their hands up, don't shoot protest, the NFL was very smart, I think, in saying we're not going to discipline them, even though the St. Louis Police Officers Association was calling for some kind of punishment. And frankly, the NFL is dealing with so many other things that this is not, and many of those things deal with disciplinary overreach. This is not one of those things that would be smart. In the NBA, same thing. Both of these leagues have had very strange histories with their racial implications and with their relationships with their black players. And this is not the time to punish players for something as relatively innocuous and peaceful as these kinds of demonstrations.
But George, does it put them at odds with the police?
I think it does, and that's unfortunate, because I think it's not a zero-sum game. I think you can support the cause and the parents who have lost loved ones and sons without being opposed to the police officers. My question is, why isn't the police officer standing with some of these guys and saying, hey, there's a problem here that we both need to address? If we continue to stay on the divide, we're never going to bridge the issue. We need to bridge it.
There was actually a group of black St. Louis police officers who came out and reprimanded the St. Louis Police Officers Association and stood with these players players. So you are starting to see that a little bit more. It would be nice if it were coming from broader police organizations.
Exactly.
But, I think that it'll snowball, and that we're seeing that as well with athletes.
It's interesting to see the different allegiances form across the divide. George Martin, Kavitha Davidson, thanks so much for your thoughts on this. And of course, we want to know what you think about athletes making these kinds of statements. So you can find us all on Twitter. I'm at Allison Camerata, or go to facebook.com/New Day. Thanks so much, guys.
Our pleasure.
All right, we're following a lot of news for you this morning, so let's get right to it.